He wanted to be remembered forever, and to be remembered, he set the world on fire. He was born to rule the greatest empire on earth, and he turned it into his stage. He called himself an artist, a poet, a god. The people called him a monster, but the truth, as always, sits somewhere between the song and the smoke. This is the story of Nero Claudius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, Rome's most infamous emperor, and perhaps history's first man to die for likes. He was born in 37 AD, when Rome was at its height. Marble palaces, golden eagles, and a family tree dripping with ambition and poison. His mother, Agrippina the Younger, sister to Caligula, niece to Claudius, descendant of Augustus, a woman who could smile while planning a coup. From the day Nero could walk, she whispered, "You are destined for greatness." And greatness does not wait its turn. He studied poetry, philosophy, and music under Seneca, Rome's stoic master. But Agrippina taught him a different lesson, how to survive the knife behind the smile. By 16, he wore the laurel of empire. By 20, he wore the grin of a performer who thought the world was his audience. Nero wasn't the first emperor to love luxury, but he was the first to love attention. Where others ruled, he performed. He sang, acted, recited poetry, played the lyre. He made senators sit through endless shows and clap until their palms stung. To leave early was treason. To yawn was blasphemy. Ancient writers joked that women gave birth in the theater rather than risk standing up mid-performance. He called himself the greatest artist of Rome. The empire became his stage, the people his audience, and applause his oxygen. At first it seemed like a golden age. He lowered taxes, ended secret trials, banned executions for a time. He was handsome, young, generous, the influencer of antiquity. He walked among the poor in disguise, asking what they thought of him, and rewarded those who praised him loudest. Rome felt alive, the people adored him, but love based on novelty fades, and Nero didn't know how to live without applause. When admiration waned, anxiety took its place, and that's when the story turned dark. In the summer of 64 AD, a spark in a shop near the Circus Maximus caught the dry wind, and within hours the eternal city became a living torch. 6 days of fire, 7 nights of chaos, 10 districts reduced to ash. And when the smoke cleared, whispers filled the air. People said the emperor had started it, that he watched from a high tower, playing his lyre and singing of Troy's burning, that he wanted to rebuild the city in his image. Was it true? Maybe, maybe not. Ancient sources disagree. Some say he opened his palaces to refugees, others that he composed poetry while the city died. But the image was too perfect to forget, the artist performing while his world burned. From the ashes rose Domus Aurea, the Golden House, a palace so enormous it swallowed neighborhoods. Walls plated in gold leaf, ceilings with moving panels that rained perfume, gardens filled with fountains and statues that glowed in torchlight. In its center, a colossal bronze statue of Nero himself, 35 meters tall, as if the sun now rose over his shoulder. When it was finished, he looked around and said, "Finally, I can live like a human being." For a man who fancied himself divine, that line was unintentionally honest. To the homeless Romans rebuilding their shacks nearby, it sounded less poetic. Power is a mirror, and Nero could not stop looking at his reflection. But behind the mirror, cracks were forming. Senators whispered, generals mocked. Even his teacher Seneca began to fear him. He saw betrayal everywhere, conspiracies real or imagined. It didn't matter. He silenced critics, exiled rivals, erased anyone who didn't clap loudly enough. His mother, Agrippina, once the architect of his rise, became the first victim of his paranoia. He could command armies, but not his own vanity. In private, he wrote tragedies about lonely heroes. In public, he acted as one. By 66 AD, Nero's empire looked more like a reality show than a government. He organized endless games and musical contests and performances that lasted days. He sang before thousands, sometimes dressed as gods, sometimes as peasants. Whatever the role demanded, as long as the applause returned. When he toured Greece, he competed in every festival. Every judge miraculously declared him the winner. Statues were raised, temples dedicated, crowds bribed to cheer. He believed that art would make him eternal. He was half right, but empires need bread, not ballads. While Nero played artist, provinces starved and legions rebelled. Taxes rose to fund his spectacles. The Senate lost patience, and for the first time, the applause stopped. That silence terrified him more than any army. He demanded new performances, larger audiences, louder cheers, but fear cannot fake passion forever. Even his guards began to drift away one by one, leaving the emperor alone on his own stage. In 68 AD, the Senate declared him an enemy of Rome. Governors revolted, even his loyal slaves deserted him. He fled the city disguised, hiding in a villa outside Rome. The once god, now a frightened man surrounded by shadows. He heard soldiers approaching. He asked quietly, "Is there still no one who will defend me?" Silence answered. Then came the line history remembers. "What an artist dies in me." 30 years old, a lifetime of applause, and in the end, not a single hand left to clap. Rome celebrated his death. His name was condemned, his palaces looted, his memory officially erased. Damnatio memoriae. Yet erasing him only made him linger. Within years, impostors appeared, men claiming to be Nero reborn, singing in the East, gathering followers who refused to believe he was gone. He became a legend, a rumor that refused to die. The man who wanted to be eternal through art had finally done it by becoming a myth. Nero's tragedy wasn't madness, it was emptiness. He was the first ruler to value performance over purpose, image over integrity, attention over truth. He burned not from hatred, but from hunger, a hunger to be seen, adored, remembered. He mistook admiration for love and fame for immortality. That disease never died. We just gave it Wi-Fi. 2,000 years later, we still see him everywhere. In screens, on stages, in the endless noise of people trying to prove they exist. He built golden palaces. We build profiles. He watched his city burn. We watch ourselves. He thought fame would fill the silence inside, but it only made the silence louder. And perhaps in that echo lies the real fire that never went out. Nero's empire turned to dust, his golden house buried beneath centuries of earth. Yet his name endures, not as a ruler, but as a warning. He wanted eternity, and he got it. He wanted to be loved, and instead became unforgettable. Because in the end, that's what vanity does. It builds monuments out of ashes and calls them art. And the crowd, as always, keeps watching.